Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. And my name is Dan and welcome to your Gameweek 34 free hit guide. Although I have to say, I think this video is going to be useful for those of you who aren't free hitting as well. Maybe looking to get some double Gameweek players for Gameweek 34. So guys, if you enjoyed this one, find it useful, leave a like, do subscribe if you're new around here. Let's get started. So first of all, I just want to go through some of the top picks from each position. So like I say, this is not just going to be for free hitters, but maybe also for those of you looking to go into Gameweek 34 with a couple of transfers and maybe wildcard out of your team in Game Week 35. Basically, we're looking for the best team possible for Game Week 34, whether you're using chips or not. So let's start off with these goalkeepers, and there is a couple of real standout players here. Now, Raya, obviously, he's a player you're going to want to go for. Arsenal with their amazing clean sheet record, amazing defensive record, and we've also got Alisson also coming back into the Liverpool team, going to be very, very useful in two fixtures, which I actually think are possibly the the strongest double that any team has for defense, because Fulham and Everton, not exactly teams known for scoring a lot of goals. I like this combo of fixtures for a defender, but that said, Arsenal and Liverpool, they are teams that we probably want to pick players from other areas of the pitch for. I'm sure you've got your eyes on a lot of Liverpool attackers, some other Arsenal defenders and attackers maybe there as well. We got 3 players maximum from each team, so although we do like Raya and Alisson, it might be advisable to look elsewhere to maximise the amount of outfield players you can play from Liverpool and Arsenal. So Henderson is probably my next favourite fixture. A couple of fixtures for that player. 2 nice home games. I like Crystal Palace's defensive numbers at the moment. They always look like they have a chance of keeping a clean sheet, and with 2 home fixtures against 2 medium opponents, I think that's going to be fine. Pickford, not too bad either. Been a pretty consistent goalkeeper this season. Nottingham Forest at home is not such a bad fixture. That Liverpool at home is a fixture you probably do not expect a clean sheet for from Everton though. Outside of that, not really too interested in any of these other goalkeepers. Raya, Alisson, and if you're not going there, Henderson or Pickford is probably where I'd like to go. For defenders, there is probably a few more options here. Gabriel and Ben White are probably the top 2 picks from the Arsenal defence. I would probably maybe throw in Saliba here as well, but if I'm totally honest, Gabriel with his attacking threat and his great value for money. Ben White, maybe around the similar price to Saliba, but has that better attacking threat again than Saliba. It just makes a lot more sense to go for a Gabriel or a Ben White rather than a Saliba if you have that option on a free hit. Of course, if you're not on a free hit, you already have Saliba in your team. He's definitely going to do the job, so no problem there whatsoever. Outside of the Arsenal defenders, which we know are just brilliant, Van Dijk is probably the safest Liverpool defender to go for. Nailed on in a great double game week for any defender, and Liverpool are currently putting up the 2nd best defensive numbers in the Premier League at the moment. Robertson, a little bit of a risk, but he's been putting up some really nice creative numbers in this Liverpool team recently, so he looks pretty good if you're looking to maybe try and get some open play assists or potentially some corners that Robertson could potentially take there. Slight rotation risk on him though. I don't think it's super high, but there is a little bit of rotation risk there for Robertson. Aït-Nouri has to be spoken about if he is available, and we're not sure if he is going to be available quite yet, but if he is just too good of a defender in terms of FPL to miss out on, because he plays in such dangerous attacking forward areas. And I think no matter what fixtures he has, Arsenal, Bournemouth, they're not great, but they're both home fixtures, and if he's going to have that attacking threat, then that actually might be better off going there than maybe a Crystal Palace or Everton defender, where yes, you might slightly expect slightly more clean sheets from Crystal Palace or maybe Everton as well there, but you're probably not going to get the same attacking returns from a Munoz or a Mykolenko, who are the final picks here. Low rotation risk, they are a little bit differential, but are they trustworthy players? I did mention earlier that Crystal Palace have good defensive numbers. They're currently around 4th, 5th, 6th, that kind of area in terms of our underlying defensive numbers at the moment, so there is definitely potential there, but West Ham, Newcastle, they are teams that can score goals as well. So the Arsenal defenders, the Liverpool defenders, again, are going to be your top picks, but you might not be able to have a lot of those guys because you might want to go for some more attackers, and therefore Aït-Nouri, Munoz, Mykolenko, these are the kind of defenders I would go for. Of course, again, if you've already got a Saliba, if you've already got a Branthwaite in your team, players like that, they're going to be absolutely fine. They'll do the job, but again, I think if you have the pick of the bunch, you'll probably be selecting defenders from this list here. Okay, for midfielders, there are so many options. I'm going to cover my favourite ones, but we could really go on and on and on about potential midfielders for this game week. So Salah, obviously the top pick for midfielders this game week. You don't need me to tell you that. Saka is going to be up there as well. But I think Eze is probably going to be our third pick because I like these fixtures a lot from an attacking point of view. West Ham and Newcastle, two teams that have struggled defensively the second half of the season. I think there's going to be some real opportunity for an Eze who is set piece taker, often on penalties as well. He is a player who has been really, really crucial whenever Crystal Palace have had those nice runs of form. He has some really serious potential here. He's a differential, and there might be a little bit of rotation risk with his injury kind of record there, but overall, I don't think it's too bad. Nothing to worry about too much. Cheap at 6 million. I think it's a really obvious player to go for if you're looking for a midfielder for this game week who doesn't play for Liverpool or Arsenal. Eze would be the immediate answer. After that, Luis Diaz, like him a lot. Some people may argue that Luis Diaz is perhaps a better pick than Eze. I don't know. I think Luis Diaz does have a little bit of rotation risk. Now we've got Jota back. Obviously, Cody Gakpo is in and around the team as well. And among the double game week, I think Liverpool could see a little bit of rotation, maybe more so than Crystal Palace. I think maybe Eze is even more nailed on than Luis Diaz, perhaps. So there is a small risk there, but there is still a good chance that he plays both games. Same situation with Havertz. Good chance he plays both games, but you're not 100% guaranteed on that one, which does kind of put me off these players. When we're going for our Liverpool and Arsenal picks, we need to be sure these are the most crucial picks for this game week, and we need to be very sure about them. So, you can take that risk, or you can choose not to take that risk on minutes, but there is going to be a little bit of risk there. Odegaard, much safer as an Arsenal pick, but maybe doesn't have the same potency of a Havertz, not the same potency as a Luis Diaz either. And I've put Brereton Diaz here down as a bit of a differential here as well. Low rotation risk. His underlying numbers are really, really good at the moment, playing as a striker despite being listed as a midfielder. And I know I spoke about Crystal Palace having really nice fixtures from an attacking point of view. Brereton Diaz, actually, I would say his fixtures and Sheffield United fixtures, I know it's Sheffield United, but it's even better. These are even better. Burnley at home, Manchester United away. Man United have been dreadful defensively recently, and I think we can all admit that by this point. And then the other fixtures, Burnley. I think this is actually a really nice pair of fixtures, and I think it might actually be worth taking a risk on a player like Brereton Diaz if you are on a free hit. We're talking about a one-week punt. It's not like you're going to be stuck with this player. I think it's well worth a risk going for someone slightly like this. Of course, we could talk about all other kinds of players. Alexis McAllister, you might think about. Michael Elise, potentially. We could go on and on, but I would say that these 7, again, are my top midfield picks. So let's go through the forwards before I share my final free hit draft with you guys. Solanke is going to be probably the top pick for this week. Aston Villa struggling a little bit defensively at the moment, as are Wolverhampton Wanderers. So really, really nice, sensible pick. Lots of people own him already. You probably wouldn't want to bet against Solanke this week. So yeah, penalty taker. Coming back into form against Manchester United with a goal there. Could have even had a penalty in that game against Manchester United. Inches away from the penalty area when that foul was given, if you guys saw that one. But yeah, in general, Solanke just a very reliable player to go for. Darwin coming with a bit of rotation risk. Again, just like Luis Diaz, now that Diogo Jota is back in the fold, there's always going to be a bit of risk there. I think Cody Gakpo has a good chance of getting one of the 2 games as well over the double. So just be aware, yes, there is still a solid chance that Darwin plays in both. And in fairness to Darwin, even when he comes off the bench, he can often make an impact in games. So he is still a decent pick, regardless of whether you think he's going to start both games or not. But yeah, again, another player you've got to accept the risk. So 2 players who I don't think there's any risk really of rotation is Cunha and Mateta. They've been starting every game for their respective teams whenever they've been available. Cunha coming back into form, of course, in game week 33 with a brace there. Mateta, at time of recording, has not played. He's going to play against Liverpool. I haven't seen that game yet at the time of recording this video, though. But again, we spoke about Crystal Palace's fixtures, West Ham and Newcastle being really quite nice. So I think he has to be spoken about as a potential cheap option. Maybe your first bench option, Mateta, something like that. Cunha, though, I am a little bit more bullish on. So Solanke, Darwin, Cunha, Mateta, all double game week picks I would be pretty happy to go for this game week. Erling Haaland, though, is probably the next best pick because outside of those top 4 forwards with double game weeks, I don't really like anyone. So Haaland, still going to be a player you might want to think about against Brighton. Maybe slight rotation risk with the amount of fixtures that Man City have in all competitions at the moment. And outside of that, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Gabriel Jesus, are we really going to go there? Probably not, if we're perfectly honest. But just thought we'd mention there as maybe the 6th and 7th best picks in the forward position. But yeah, slimmer pickings in the forward position. You're probably going to go for Solanke, and then you're probably going to pick some players out of Darwin, Cunha, Mateta, Haaland. Yeah, that's pretty much it for forwards. Let's do this draft and show you the final team that, well, I say final team, the team that I would be picking right now based on current information. So this is my Game Week 34 free hit team. Of course, I am not on a free hit, but if I was, this would be the team that I would be selecting, guys. And to be fair, this team is not too dissimilar to the team I've got right now. Maybe I'll be looking to move my team to something a little bit more like this. But enough waffling, Dan. Raya in goal to start ourselves off. I think at 5.1 million, I think he's just a nice, cheap, reliable way into that Arsenal defence. I think the fact that we have got, you know, an opportunity to go for multiple Arsenal defenders here, I think it's definitely worthwhile, because whereby we might see a bit of rotation with Martinelli, Havertz, Ødegaard maybe not putting up the numbers we hope from him. Obviously, we've got Trossard could get some minutes there, and the fact that we've got certain Arsenal defenders that super nailed on makes a lot of sense to just double up on the best defence in the league and look at this Wolves and Chelsea game and say, hey, every chance double clean sheets here. So Raya is our pick for the goalkeeper slot. Nailed on, no worries there. Van Dijk in the defensive position. I do think with these fixtures, you have to go for at least one Liverpool defender if you're on a free hit. But again, perfectly understand why people might want to just attack this double game week with 3 Liverpool attackers. Going to be a little bit more difficult to select which ones are going to be nailed on. But Van Dijk is probably the only nailed on guy in this Liverpool defence at the moment. Everyone else is a bit of a risk. Gabriel is going to be our double up in defence. Good attacking threat. Obviously, clean sheets are always going to be there. So we like Gabriel a lot for that Arsenal defensive double up. Aït-Nouri is going to be our next pick here. Yeah, based on the current information and hoping that Aït-Nouri will probably be available, from what I know, he was extremely close in Game Week 33. So by the time we get to Game Week 34, he should be back, ready to go once again. If Aït-Nouri doesn't look like he's going to be available, then of course you can maybe do a switch, do Aït-Nouri to Ben White at Arsenal, and then swap Raya out for probably Henderson at Crystal Palace, to be fair. You could maybe potentially go for Pickford in goal as well, and still keep the Arsenal defensive double up, but just change it from the goalkeeper position to that third defensive slot. So yeah, but Aït-Nouri, if he's available, I think he is going to be one of the first names on your team sheet, to be perfectly honest, outside of that Liverpool and Arsenal contingent. In midfield, Mo Salah, no doubt about that. He's going to go in straight away. Saka is going to join him in the midfield position as well. I think those are the 2 players who are pretty much essential for this free hit team. Well, even if you're not free hitting, you would have to say Salah and Saka, the essential guys. Luis Diaz is going to be our next pick here as well. I'd say he's slightly more nailed on with than Darwin Nunez, maybe given the form that he has been showing recently. Been doing really, really well. Better form than Darwin, maybe putting up some better points, gets more points for goals, and he's going to get clean sheet points if Liverpool can manage clean sheets in the double, which I think they can. So I think that's going to end up benefiting Luis Diaz as your third Liverpool guy, slightly more than a Darwin Nunez, but I think it will probably be between those 2 for my third Liverpool slot, Luis Diaz or Darwin. I've opted for Luis Diaz in this team. Eberechi Eze is going to go into this team as well. Love this double up, West Ham and Newcastle, this double game week for Crystal Palace. I think you've got to get involved in that one a little bit. Hopefully going to be on penalties, going to be taking some set pieces, going to be creating for his team, going to be taking those wonder shots, wonder goals that he often does, and putting up the real good numbers per 90 that he has done consistently during his time at Crystal Palace. A fit Eberechi Eze is usually a very, very dangerous proposition indeed. And fair enough, last couple of game weeks against Liverpool and Man City have maybe not shown that. He's had some tough fixtures, but now up against some easier fixtures, I think things can change very, very quickly. And we're going to finish off this midfield with Brereton Diaz. Yes, I think really, I strongly believe that if you are free hitting, it's the exact opportunity to go for a player who you wouldn't ordinarily go for, a player who you would never want long term, but you understand and appreciate that there's maybe an opportunity here. I think Ben Brereton Diaz is a genuine really nice pick that is going to be overlooked because he plays for Sheffield United. His numbers are good. Not long ago, he scored, I can't remember exactly what it was, maybe a 17-pointer against Fulham just a couple of game weeks ago, because he is that guy in this in the Sheffield United team. He is their main attacker. And when I look at these fixtures, a Burnley at home game and a Manchester United team badly out of shape, out of form, I think it's just got to be done. You've got to attack this one. You know, we've just seen Solanke scoring against Manchester United. We've seen Liverpool putting a couple of goals past Man United as well. You get so many chances to score against this United team, and Brereton Diaz is going to be the guy who gains the most from that situation. So yeah, bit of a differential. I know not a lot of people will be brave enough to go there, but if I'm free hitting, he is the player I'd be going for. Up front, Dominic Solanke, again, another one of those players I would say is pretty much, I don't want to say essential, but he's very, very important on those free hit teams with the fixtures, with the improving form, with the penalties that he's on. I quite like this one. Aston Villa, again, I think there's definitely goals to be had there. Wolves not exactly doing great defensively recently either, so yeah, definitely two opportunities to score goals for Bournemouth, and Solanke just dominates the stats for that Bournemouth team, doesn't he? Cunha, also with his improving form, you know, back into the team now, finally getting a start for Wolves in game week 33, scoring those goals, and we know how good he's been previously this season. And even though the fixtures against Arsenal and Bournemouth, maybe not amazing, they are two home fixtures. If anyone's going to score against Arsenal, you think it's going to be this guy. And against Bournemouth, yeah, I think Bournemouth are maybe a little bit overrated defensively. Their defensive numbers don't seem to be improving, to be fair. So I think there is actually an opportunity against Bournemouth, which is partially why I've not included any Bournemouth defenders in this team. I'm not actually too convinced by them. So Cunha to get some goals against Bournemouth, why not? On the bench, guys, Pickford. Just a nice backup goalkeeper. I think I do slightly prefer Henderson, but you can see we've already got the triple up on Crystal Palace with two Crystal Palace players on the bench. Mateta and Munoz I've gone for there, and Mikalenko as our final bench option in the final slot there as well. But yeah, like I said, Brereton Diaz, if you don't fancy him, you could maybe go for an Elise maybe as a differential. You could maybe double up on the Arsenal attack. I don't know if I would necessarily go for a Sarabia or a He-Chan. Maybe a little bit of rotation risk for those guys. Not super confident about them. If I'm going for a Wolves attacker, it's going to be Cunha, I think, rather than the midfield guys. But yeah, Elise has potential there. Or, you know, if you want to go for a McAllister and sacrifice Van Dijk, maybe. There's other options for the Brereton Diaz thing. And like I said earlier about Aït-Nouri, if you don't fancy him, you can either just go straight to a Munoz or a Mikalenko, or you can swap him out for a Ben White and change Raya to a Pickford or a Henderson. Probably Henderson would be the guy I'd go for against West Ham and Newcastle. Captain's armband is going to go on Salah, no doubt about that. And vice captain on Saka. The team costs under 95 million. I imagine that a lot of people might, if you are not planning a free hit, you might be able to get pretty close to this team already. My team should be 8 out of 11 of these players by the time we get to the game week 34 deadline, so I'm pretty pleased about that one. It's just those differentials that I think I'll be missing out on. Brereton Diaz, Cunha, would love to have these kind of players, but yeah, unless you're on a free hit, you don't have that opportunity, which is quite exciting in a way for these doubles. So yeah, there we go, guys. That is our game week 34 suggested free hit team based on what I would probably do if I was using the chip this week. But yeah, like I say, my team's going to be pretty close to this one anyway. Thank you so much for watching today, guys. If you did enjoy this one, make sure you do drop a like. Do subscribe if you are new around here as well. We'll be back all week with loads of Game Week 34 content ahead of this big double game week, which I'm very, very excited for, guys, as you might know. And yeah, I guess I will see you on tomorrow's video. We might do a stream tomorrow as well, but we'll decide on the day. Till then, thank you very much for watching once again, and I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.